Welcome back once again. This is Dave in Joliet, Montana. I run a little wagon shop here. We started back in 1979. Rick Bischoff and myself, we started this wagon shop. And so we've been here probably, over 40 years anyway. And one of the things about this little town is it hasn't really changed much in the past 40 plus years. It was about 600 people at that time, and it's still about 600 people here today. Now the outlying area has developed some with some developments and subdivisions. That's just kind of what happens over time. A lot of people travel and commute into Billings and Laurel for work. Well, I really do enjoy living in this small town. At one time it wasn't so much that way. A small town, you kind of know a good part about everybody, and maybe a little bit too much, you know about what everybody's doing. And there was a day that kind of grated on me. But after all these years, it's an attribute that I have come to appreciate about small towns. You know your neighbors for the most part. There's always people coming in, moving in that you don't know, and it takes time. But over all these years, this little wagon shop is now the longest running sole proprietor, sole owner business on Main Street. So I have seen a lot of people come and go. Well, when I started to do this YouTube channel, I really pondered long and hard about committing to doing a video every week on every Friday. Well, this has been one of those weeks that challenges that commitment. There are things that come up in a small town. Friends stop by, things need to be done, and I just don't get a continuity sometimes of continual videos. This is one of those weeks. A couple weeks ago we had a storm come through pretty early and a little unusual for this area. Well, I have a little piece of ground about 5 miles out of town, and the neighbor's place, I went out and took some pictures. I had some cows on there that were, kind of caught, and so they were out foraging through the snow. So I thought maybe my chances of working on this little place through the winter was done. Well, we ended up having a little reprieve here this week. We were in the high 50s, mid 60s most of the week, and a lot of the snow came off. Well, through the summer I have been working on removing some sagebrush on our ground, trying to help the native grasses come back. So I had taken a steel I-beam drag and I drug this pasture, beaten down the sagebrush. I wanted to go out and run a brush hog and mow some of this old stumpage down. Well, I thought I was out of that window of opportunity, but this week opened up that window. So I borrowed a little tractor from Rick, my brother-in-law. He has a little Ford, I guess it's an 8-inch, it's Jubilee anyway. And I borrowed a brush hog from my wife's brother, put the two together, and I headed out to do some brush hogging on some sagebrush this last week, Sunday, Monday. Well, the first day it took a little while to load the thing up and get it on out there. But I headed out, kind of got things fueled up and headed out to mow some sagebrush. Well, I started out first thing at daylight. I got out there maybe about 9 or 10. And this is some of the stumpage that was left after I had been dragging this past year, and you can see I had raked and piled up a lot of the debris. Well, this debris will be burned through the winter, and I have 2 of these piles that need to be burned. But this rough stuff, stumpage that is left, I wanted to brush hog down to remove that to allow for some of the native grasses to come back. So I spent one day, and then I went out the next day and spent again another day from sunrise clear through dark getting this pasture mowed. So that took up 2 days of this week. Well, I always have an ongoing call and demand for wagon bows. I know I have showed several different videos of how I do that, so I'm not going to go into that a lot again. But as much as I try to stay ahead in my inventory of bows, it seems like I'm always behind. So I spent another day this week ripping, planing, shaping bows, and I still have to run these through the steamer to get these done. So this is another thing that just constantly shows up that I need to attend to that kind of detracts from some of my buggy work. Well, on this little window that we have this week, I had been doing some roofing repair on the second side of my shop where the seam bender and my big lathes are, and now my blacksmithing room is. When I bought this building, it was a dilapidated, run-down building with a wood floor, and I tore out the floor and the roof leaked, and over the process of time, we put a tin roof on this. The parapet walls were brick and they were poor. So I finally took and we put a spray styrofoam on these parapet walls, completely sealed them up, and I did this flash foam on all the seams, trying to stop the leakage on this roof. Well, I have a couple little places that somewhere are still leaking. When we get a wet snow or a heavy rain, I still have a few places that continue to leak on this shop. So with this little window of opportunity, I went and I bought some Flex Seal, and I'm going to coat each and every little screw head again. I had done this earlier this year with elastomeric coating and I still couldn't get them. So this last snow showed that I still have a few holes somewhere. Well, I'm going to take this Flex Seal and go and top dress every screw again to see if I can stop this rascal of a leak. Well, while I was up on this roof, a friend from down the road, who is actually the father of Dan, you have seen work in the shop here over different times. Well, Joe is an old school mechanic. He grew up, cut his teeth on hot rods from pieces here and there, and just has that savvy on how things work. Well, they are rebuilding a drive line on one of their 1-ton 4-wheel drive trucks. So Joe stopped by to borrow the lathe, and we spent some time visiting as we put a new spline on a shortened up drive line for one of their pickups. It's just one of those things about being a fab shop, welding shop, blacksmith shop, woodworking shop here on Main Street in Joliet. Some of the local ranchers and friends will stop by off and on, and they need this welded or that repaired or this little odds and end done here and there, and that's just part of living on Main Street. And it's one of those things that I've come to appreciate in living in this little town here, is it provides that opportunity to be involved with friends and neighbors on all kinds of little projects. So while I was in the back of my mind thinking about this video, and Joe stopped by, and it's one of those things that these projects become more important than making sure I have another video on a buggy. YouTube is nice and YouTube is important, but the community where you live is also important. So I spent this afternoon with Joe working on this drive line to get their pickup running. Well, we also have a real nice store across the street here on Main Street, the Copper Willow Salon. Well, Christy, who runs this salon and has for a number of years, requested that I would help maybe put in or replace a ceiling light in one of their rooms for one of their technicians. So I headed on into town. Laurel is about 18 miles down the road, and they have a nice little hardware store there. So we went down to see what they had for a selection of ceiling lights. Well, we found what we needed, and on the way home, I happened to notice this sundog. Well, I looked up the significance of a sundog, and it seems to indicate impending weather. Well, this correlates with the weather that is being forecast for this weekend on into next week. We've got some snow coming back in again, and we're headed down to where the highs are going to be in the 20s. So I'm going to get this light switched out before the girls show up for the next day's business. So here it is about 7 o'clock this morning. Nobody's here at work. So I'm going to sneak in and get this light switched for the salon gals here. So that's just kind of how this week has gone. It's been one project after another. Been mowing some brush, I've been cutting a few bows, had some roof repairs to do, I did a little electrical work. But that's just the advantage of living in small town America, and I do appreciate that. And I appreciate you showing up. It's a little unusual, this week's video, but that's just part of everyday life when we live in a small town like we do here in Joliet. A friend and a neighbor comes in and you just need to get things done. We're in between snowstorms. We need to get things done before winter really sets in for solid and for long term. So anyway, thanks for putting up with this little different video. We hope all is doing well. Thanks for following along. And once again, as always, thanks for watching.